Hey everyone, welcome back to the Character Quest YouTube channel. Today we are catching up on part 2 of a 2-part series talking about the question of what are the traits that build high performance company cultures. This was the question that Gallup asked. Gallup is a very well-known research company that Gallup asked in their Q12 engagement survey, and they explored this almost a decade ago. And to this day, their findings still hold true. How do I know this? Well, I'm going to tell you about that in a little bit. After lots and lots of data collection, Gallup landed on 12 traits that they believe that every company should focus on if they want to move the needle on employee engagement. In the first video, I talked about the first 6 of the 12. In this video, I'm talking about the last 6 of the 12 traits. So if you haven't watched the first video, I encourage you to click up above and watch the first video and then watch this video. I want to know if at the end of this video, do you think your culture has any of these traits? Let's find out. Hey everyone, I'm Dr. Derek Matthews, the co-founder of Character Quest, where we help you become the greatest leadership version of yourself. If you want to level up your leadership skills, then hit the subscribe button and hit that bell to be notified when we post a weekly video. And check us out over on Instagram at Character Quest, where I post daily content. And last but not least, we recently launched a podcast. It's a lot of fun. Talks about a lot of the similar topics we talk about over here on YouTube. I go a little bit more in depth over on the podcast. Couldn't guess the podcast called the Character Quest Podcast. I'll put a little image up above. For those of you that haven't watched the first video, I'll tell you why I know that this survey works. These traits are so important because we were hired by a very large company who is suffering from very poor employee engagement numbers, like very, very, very bad. And so they brought us in to help them solve the problem, get their employees more engaged. And over a period of 3 years, we helped them go from their lowest point of employee engagement to their highest of employee engagement by developing their managers on these 12 traits or skills of high performance company culture. So I know firsthand that if you focus on these 12 traits, you will make a difference with employee engagement in your organization, on your team, and with those that you lead. So just a quick refresher. Last week, or in the previous video, we talked about 6 traits. Trait number 1 was expectations. Trait number 2 was equipment and resources. Trait number 3 was opportunity to do what I do best every day. Trait number 4 was recognition. Trait number 5 is someone at work cares about me. Trait number 6 was someone at work encourages my development. Again, if you haven't watched that video, go back and watch it. So now we're going to go through from 7 to 12 today. Number 7 is voice. And the question on the Q12, the Gallup Q12 survey is, at work, do your opinions seem to count? So I want you to think about this quote. Think about this. A leader who fails to listen will end up with a team that has nothing to say. I'm going to say that one more time. A leader who fails to listen will end up with a team who has nothing to say. So when I heard this quote, it hit me like a ton of bricks. I can't remember where I heard it from, but it's really true. If we fail to get the opinions of others on our team, they become disengaged. People want to be heard. They want to at least know that you care about their opinion. They might not get to call the final shot, but when they know that they're heard, that boosts their engagement. So I want to share with you 3 quick tips to get everyone's voice heard on your team. First thing is, when you're in a meeting, call on the thinkers. Call on the thinkers. There's lots of people with great ideas that might sit in the back. They might be quiet. They might sit like this and nod their head or go like this. Call on those people. They've got great ideas. The people like me talk too much during meetings and are the first ones to speak up. Look for the thinkers, call on the thinkers, help them become engaged in the conversation. Number 2 is thumb polls. When you have something to say in a meeting, if you're leading a meeting and you want to get everyone's opinion, have them do a thumb poll. Really like the idea, all the way down to don't like the idea. And you have everyone do it at once. It's fun. It gets everyone engaged and everyone feels like their voice is heard. And number 3 is The One Thing. If you've never read the book, The One Thing, it's awesome. At the end of a meeting, ask everyone what's the one thing that you're going to focus on after or apply from this meeting that will help move the needle on XYZ. And so everyone has to go around the room, and before they can leave, they have to tell about their one thing that they're going to do. So these are just ways to get everyone involved and ways that you can make sure that everyone's voice is heard in some way, shape, or form. Trait number 8 is mission and purpose. You probably hear about this a lot. Here's the question. Does the mission or purpose of your company make your job feel more important? Your company likely has a mission statement, but do you know it? Does your team know it? Do you live by it? Do you tie it to your metrics? Does it even make sense? I remember we worked with a client once, and we had some of their higher level leaders in a room, and we said, what's the mission statement of this company? And no one could recite it. No one even knew what it was. And that's pretty sad. I think we, as leaders, we need to understand the mission, because mission-driven employees are 54% more likely to stay for 5 years at a company and 30% more likely to become high performers than those who work for a paycheck alone. Look, bottom line, humans want to be part of something bigger than themselves. And when we can point them towards that, that creates engagement. So here's 5 quick reasons of why a purpose-driven organization is so important. It improves corporate confidence. According to the Culture of Purpose study by Deloitte, 82% of executives and employees who worked for a company with a clear purpose say they are confident that their company will grow this year. Number 2 is it increases trust. Deloitte found that 81% of respondents working for organizations with a strong sense of purpose say their stakeholders trust their leadership team. Number 3 is it increases innovation. 80% of respondents from companies that have a strong purpose say their company encourages employees to innovate versus 35% of respondents in companies without a strong sense of purpose. Number 4, attracts talent. According to Deloitte, 60% of millennials report that they chose to join their current company because of its sense of purpose. And lastly, number 5 is it boosts employee engagement, which is what we're talking about today, right? Deloitte posits that 73% of employees who claim to work at a purpose-driven company are engaged compared to 23% of those who don't. With all these stats, it's very clear to see that having a mission-driven organization is super important. It drives engagement. So it's something to focus on. Trait number 9, quality work team. And the question on the survey is, my coworkers are committed to doing quality work. Now, I talked about this story over on the podcast, but I'm a beer connoisseur. I love craft beer. Actually, I'm thinking about going and picking up a 4-pack or a 6-pack right after we're done recording this. I'm also in the beer industry. So our family owns a Miller Coors distribution company. And so I have the privilege of traveling to different breweries, and I love going to breweries and just experiencing the culture, trying their different beers, maybe some of their more rare beer. That's just so much fun. But there's one brewery that stands out to me, and I'm going to tell you a story about that. That brewery is Lagunitas Brewing Company in Chicago. I went to the Chicago brewery a few years ago. And from the door greeter to the tour guide, if you've ever been on one of these, think about a craft brewery that you've been to. I mean, if you go on a tour, you go from the door greeter to the tour guide to the bartender. I mean, you're meeting all kinds of different people that work there. And there was such consistency with everyone at that brewery that they loved the brand. They loved and cared about the brand. They wanted us to have a good time. They took ownership, pride, and relentless enthusiasm in the culture and the story of Lagunitas. And you could feel that. So their quality went beyond flavor to the feel of the consumer stepping into the building. So their commitment to quality must be some of the reason of their success, because they've had tremendous growth. And also they have the number one selling IPA in the world. And by the way, the IPAs, India Pale Ale, is I believe the number one beer style, craft beer style, and it continues to grow. So what am I getting at here? When your employees are committed to doing quality work, their enthusiasm and engagement rubs off on the customer. Now I know when I'm standing at a beer aisle at a grocery store and I see a Lagunitas 6-pack, it stands out to me because I had an experience where everyone at that brewery was committed to doing quality work. And because of that, they created so much engagement there that me as the consumer, I was touched by them. And so you see how this kind of plays out? I'm telling you this from the customer perspective, but look at your organization. And do you create an environment where people are committed to doing quality work so that the customer is impacted? Think about that, because I know I was. Here's trait number 10, best friend. Do you have a best friend at work? That's what the survey asks, which I think is kind of a odd question for a survey, but it's real. Having a BFF at work is critical to engagement. Friendships build mutual trust, increased collaboration, and teamwork. When we have trusted relationships at work, our lives become richer and more productive. According to Gallup, women who strongly agree that they have a best friend at work are more than 2 times as likely to be engaged at 63%, compared to the women who say otherwise at 29%. So, I mean, you know it. We spend more time with our coworkers than our family. And if you don't like your coworkers, it's hard to be engaged, because people do things for people. And when you don't like the people you work with, it's just not very fun. So Gallup's engagement database shows that 2 of 10 U.S. employees strongly agree that they have a best friend at work. But get this, this is crazy. Listen to this. By moving that ratio from 2 of 10 to 6 in 10, so from 20% to 60%, you could realize 36% fewer safety incidents, 7% more engaged customers, and 12% higher profit. Now we're talking about profit. That's one of the KPIs to engagement. Profit. But profit is a result. It's a result. So as a leader, encourage your people to become friends. How do you do that? Have Zoom happy hours. If you're cool with it and your team's cool with it, have an in-person happy hour. Do fun things together. Have game nights. Have online game nights where you play board games. I have other videos. I'll put a video up above about that. But there's lots of fun things you can do together as a team to create friendships. Okay, trait number 11, progress talks. In the last 6 months, has someone at work talked to you about your progress? So it happens 1 to 2 times a year. It's stuffy, awkward. There are surprises. A little time is spent on strengths, and a whole lot of time is spent talking about weaknesses. We leave this feeling a mixed emotion of deflated and confusion on what we're actually good at. Do you know what I'm talking about? The annual performance review. That's right. Do you love it or do you loathe it? It all depends on the manager that you have. But the annual performance review, as we know it, is an outdated model of communication and communicating progress. It just does not work well that day. How do I know that? Because Gallup even reports that only 14% of employees strongly agree that performance reviews inspire them to improve. So they don't work very well. They don't inspire. They're not inspiring. So if they're so ineffective, why do we do them? What's a better alternative? Well, I'm going to tell you a better alternative is coaching. If you start coaching your employees, coaching them on a weekly basis, checking in on them, asking them, what are you working on? How can I help? You will move the needle on engagement. Because this approach is quick And there will never be surprises because you're always checking in on your team members. And that's progress talks, and that boosts engagement. More of that on the podcast if you want to learn more about it. Trait number 12, last one, opportunity to learn and grow. In the last year, have you had the opportunity to learn and grow? That's on the survey. According to LinkedIn's 2019 Workforce Learning Report, 94% of employees say they would stay at a company longer if they invest in their learning, growth, and development. The desire to learn is especially stronger with younger workers. Opportunities for development have become the second most important factor in workplace happiness. And according to Josh Burson, who's a research guru, employees who spend time at work learning are 47% less likely to be stressed, 39% more likely to feel productive and successful, 23% more ready to take on additional responsibilities, and 21% more likely to feel confident and happy. And the more you learn, the happier you become. If we want engaged employees, we need to double down on their ability to learn and grow. We need to create margin for that. We need to lead the charge on that. We need to celebrate learning. Why do I say that? Because what gets celebrated gets replicated. If your boss only cares about the numbers, only celebrates the numbers, you're just going to focus on the numbers. So you as the leader need to start thinking about what are you celebrating with your team? Because if you're celebrating, hey, so-and-so read this book and was talking to me about it today, and that's why I'm sending out this Slack or this email, you're celebrating that person's learning journey. Just little things like that. Hey, so-and-so sent me this YouTube video or this podcast. Great points on XYZ. Wanted to share it with all of you. Celebrate learning, create opportunity to learn and grow. I always say 10 to 15 minutes a day of me time margin to learn and grow so that you can achieve your goals. This is what builds engagement. So over the course of, this video is a lot longer than I wanted it to be, but over the course of about 20 minutes, we've gone through the final 6 of the Gallup Q12 survey. I hope that this can give you a roadmap on what to focus on if you're trying to lead the charge of increasing employee engagement. This is the roadmap. It's the blueprint that you need to focus on. And I can't wait to see you succeed. Well, this was a great video. I hope this helps you become the greatest leadership version of yourself. Hit that subscribe button down below and hit the bell to be notified when we post a weekly video. Have a great day.